Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt
And
Roast.
I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our reaction and review for Survivor 48, Episode 9. I'm sorry, David, to borrow the title of another season of Survivor. Goliath has, in this case, actually defeated David because David is now gone from the show. And on to jury, where you can have all the chocolate milk you want.
Absolutely. I am not mad about this at all. He was starting to really just push people around in a way that was uncomfortable to watch. He's trying to be like, oh, I'm so honest. I'm the Integrity Alliance sort of thing. I love that Camilla just straight called him out on, whereas David just told her a straight lie to her face. Oh, I was worried that Chrissy was going to play the shot in the dark, so yeah, I floated your name. And she's just like, I don't believe you. How are you going to be like, I'm playing an honest, truthful game and then lie to my face?
Okay, here's the funny thing about David, because yes, there's a lot to criticize about David's game, and we're going to do that over the course of this video. He also, not all of his reads are terrible. Like I'm going to say that.
No.
I will defend David from the standpoint of, I think strategically he is much more self-aware than he is with any other part of his personality, because I think his game mind was actually reasonably sound. But I think the problem David had, and it was exposed hugely over the course of this episode, is that he does not have any social awareness when it comes to how he comes across to other people. And he also can get on such a high horse that it seems like he is towering over everybody, and they all have to look up at mighty David, who is standing up there and being like, honesty and integrity win the game, when it's just like, okay, dude, Joe's philosophy isn't actually that different from you, but the difference is that Joe is not screaming it from a mountaintop. Joe is just Joe. If you have to scream it, you're probably protesting too much.
I agree.
This is why, David, you are out of this, but we're going to talk more about that. We'll talk about who may be some dark horse contenders on the game at this point. Like, there is a lot to get into. Before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because yeah, we have a lot more coming of Survivor 48. And then we also have Big Brother premiering this summer on CBS. We're currently covering The Handmaid's Tale, The Last of Us, and if you guys did not know, earlier today, a Wednesday season 2 premiere date was finally announced, and we dive into that, the new teaser trailer, and a whole lot more in a video we suggest you take a look at as well.
Absolutely. We also have Dexter Resurrection coming this summer, as well as Alien Earth. So hit that subscribe button. Stick with us. It really helps us here at the channel to, get into the algorithm more. And, we really appreciate that. And also follow us over on our Patreon if you want to check out our reviews over there for Criminal Minds Evolution Season 3. That's going to be coming up. And Murderbot, which is going to be coming up on Apple TV Plus, and is the only place that you can get those video reviews. So thank you so much to everyone who is supporting us on Patreon. It also truly helps us.
It really, really does. So thank you guys so much for all of that support. Okay, here's where I'll start this off with, and I know it might make everyone's skin crawl, and it makes mine crawl for a second here, but I'll start by talking about what David did well, because he was right to want to get rid of Camilla on this past episode.
I hate to say it, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, you split up Team Guyana. You obviously don't know how close they are, but he's one of the few people who has been kind of aware of it. And because I don't think Kyle did an amazing job of talking to him about it in this last episode, I think it made him even more paranoid this time. Like, he was right to be paranoid about that. He was right to be concerned about his place in the game. Like, all of that stuff is totally correct, but there's a right and a wrong way to go about handling at camp, where you're trying to micromanage who talks to who and who can play the game a certain way. It's just like, you're going to annoy people so much that they want to just get rid of you so that they can actually play.
Yeah, he was right that there was something going on with Camilla and Kyle. He couldn't put his finger on it. I wish they still would have shown us more of why Mary is having a problem with Camilla. She's getting all this screen time, but it's only talking to David and not actually telling us why she wants Camilla out. Like, does she just have a personal problem with her?
Yeah.
Does she think something's going on as well? It's just not really that clear. But
No.
the biggest problem Kyle was going to have no matter what, and he said it in this episode, is that he just can't speak to David because David won't let him talk. Every time he tries to say, hey, I'm an emotional guy. I feel things. No. Like, I don't know why this was hard on you. It shouldn't be hard on you. Well, who are you to say how someone else is going to feel? It's only Kyle is not allowed to speak. He's not allowed to feel anything. He's just like being put in a box. They said it right. He's playing a Boston Rob game where it's kind of like no one's allowed to say anything.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be babysat, and it's nobody wants to be controlled that way.
No, the only reason Boston Rob can pull that off is because in like solo conversations, Boston Rob has the charisma to be like, hey, you're my buddy.
Yeah.
We're making it to the end. Don't listen to the other people. And David does just not have that ability. He can't schmooze in the level that Boston Rob can, where you've got all these rules, but you still feel like Boston Rob is going to take care of you. And I don't think David was really ever able to articulate that. Instead, he would just either get really upset or really, really paranoid and just kind of drive everybody crazy.
Yeah, he was really just browbeating people
Yeah.
with what he wanted, or really what Mary wanted. And it was so weird, even just for like the main alliance, to have Mary come in and control
Yeah.
David as much as she was out of the blue. Like, I was kind of really hoping this episode was going to show more of how that relationship came about, because it felt like it came out of nowhere. They
Yeah.
weren't talking. All of a sudden they're best friends and she's running his game. And I was like, okay, that's really weird. But I think David's biggest mistake was basically going to Joe and being like, I'm more honest than you are. Like, it was so hard to watch where he's like, oh, you went back on your word. First of all, David, people can change their minds.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not going back on your word if you're thinking about things more. This is a strategy
Yeah.
show. You're thinking about things more and you're changing your mind. That's okay. That's not going back on your word. That's not lying to somebody. You
Yeah.
changed your mind. A-okay. But telling Joe that way, oh, you know, you're not a man of your word, he immediately lost Joe. I'm like, okay, is he going to right the ship here
Yeah.
and kind of be like, you know what? I spoke out of turn. I didn't mean it that way. I meant it this way. No, he doubled, triple, quadrupled down on it to be like, Joe, you're not a man of your word.
That is something that, you know, they keep using that Boston Rob comparison that was thrown out there in this episode. Like, that's something Boston Rob would never do. He would never be like that reckless to just be
Yeah.
like, you know, different. You have to talk to people different ways in Survivor. You can't communicate the same way to every single person because everybody's got different needs, different wants socially. And we know what Joe values more than anything else is being Mr. Honorable Firefighter Hero Joe. And just listening to David go to him and do that is so absolutely idiotic. Like, I can't justify it or defend it in any shape or form because, one, you're totally right. People can change their minds. It happens in life. It happens in the game.
And it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's also okay to lie in the game of Survivor, but yeah,
Yes.
I don't even think Joe was lying. Like, this legitimately
No.
just felt like, okay, Joe had a feeling about the way in which he wanted things to play out at one point, and then it evolved, and then he ended up making this other choice later. And this was not something that was malicious or twisted or bad or even out to hurt David in
No.
any shape or form. So it just felt like, okay, in that moment, Joe doesn't want anything to do with you anymore because you're questioning his integrity
Yes.
as a man. And then, you know, Joe was really close with Eva, and it seemed like Eva was kind of hesitant to go along with this. But at the end of the day, she trusts Joe more than anybody. And if Joe is going to convince her, then she's going to make that move.
I knew David was going the minute that they panned over to the shot at Tribal of Eva.
Yeah.
And she had a look on her face like she felt really bad about what was going on. And she really did struggle throughout this, where she was just like, man, I
Yeah.
really want to just keep it together. Like, we need to keep it together. Let's build the
Yeah.
bridge. Like, let's get back to what we are. We're ruling this game. There's no reason for it to fall apart like this. And as soon as they panned over to her and she had that look on her face, I was like, oh, David's going.
Yeah, like I felt pretty confident he was going into that, but the moment I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, for sure. I mean, Survivor, good job in some other episodes this season, really tricking me. Like, I didn't think that Say and Cedric were going to go the way that they did and the timing. Like, I'm still mad about losing Say, by the way, but it's just like here, it just felt like the writing was so on the wall for this guy because he did so many just different questionable and or bad things. But the other thing I'm sort of sitting back now and being like, is just that, okay, David, are you even going to take the right lesson away from all of this in the end? Because you didn't get voted out of the game because you wanted your honor alliance and your integrity alliance and, oh, this never happens. It's like, it still could happen. I don't think anybody plays like a Survivor game that's like devoid of any lies whatsoever. But like Tom Westman's one of my favorite Survivor winners. And he was like Joe, he was a firefighter and he was honor and, you can win playing that way to a certain extent. So you didn't get voted out because of that. You got voted out because of the way you were treating people and the fact that you were going against some people who were pretty smart strategically and knew that, okay, you sticking around in the game is bad. Camilla and Kyle especially know that because they know that you are onto them. So, of course, they're going to strike at you.
Yeah, Camilla said it right at Tribal. She was basically like, David, your jury management is trash. And I know she was trying to say it in a nicer way. And God bless Star for coming out and being like, let's just call it for what it is. Let's just say what you're saying. His jury management is trash. Yeah. And if you're on the jury, he doesn't get your vote. And she's like, yes, that's exactly what's happening here. And nobody wants to go out of a game feeling like a clown and like being treated poorly. Of course, you're not going to get the vote. And I know there's a real mixed camp of people who are kind of like, oh, I don't like the bitter jury. If you've played the best game, you deserve it. But jury management is part of playing the game. And if you didn't participate in that part of the game, you don't deserve to win.
Okay, I'm going to put on a hard hat now because I'm going to say something that I don't even like that I'm going to say.
All right.
And that this episode told me effectively that two people are not going to win this season. And one of them is Mary. And you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier where it's just like, if they're not going to show us the real story about how Mary came to have so much power with David and kind of influence on him, I have to believe that we are not watching the story of her victory on Survivor because it feels like that's a big point that you're going to miss. Okay, I'm okay saying that. This next part's going to be really hard for me. I don't think Star's going to win. This episode was pretty bad for the Star edit because Star was not in on this vote. Like, I went back and I watched the votes again and Star voted for Mitch. And I'm just sitting back and being like, okay, well, why would Star somebody who's likable and I really want to root for her? Her confessionals are still really funny, but it's like, okay, if you were not in on this vote, that means that people did not trust you enough to tell you that, okay, we're going to do this. Maybe they thought you were really close to Mary and David or whatever reason, but it's just like, if they're not showing us all that, I don't really think we're watching your story either. And that pains me because I love her.
Yeah, I really love her. I loved watching her and Mitch's relationship growing and their friendship and learning how to swim and all that. It was really very sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was definitely on the David side of the vote. And David did not know what was going on. Like the people that were voting for Mitch truly didn't know what was going on and they were not in the power position. So Star's not in a great spot right now, just like Mary. Mary, now that she's lost David, she has no one that's listening to her anymore because she was puppeting him and now he's gone. It's just like, what do you do now?
I think we're just at that point of the game now where it's like you want to be able to have some ownership as to what the moves are, what's going on. And even if you're not the one orchestrating them, like that's okay. As long as you know them, because that tells me it's like, okay, people trust you enough to include you in the plans. You're a part of a plan. And, I have hoped for weeks on end that Star has just this under the radar edit and she is just like lurking underneath the surface. And then Star is going to just like burst upon the scene and be like this big shining star for the season. But it's like, okay, we're kind of getting to a point now where it's a little bit dicey.
Well, here's the thing, too. I'm also starting to get worried about Camilla because she is playing a very, very good strategic game. But the only person that knows it is Kyle. And so if the two of them end up getting to the end where Kyle has made moves that people have seen, and Camilla is making moves that only Kyle has seen, she's going to end up losing. There has to be a moment that comes up now closer to the end, now that jury is here, that shows that she is actually what Kyle is saying, where he's kind of like, yeah, she's the strategic mastermind with a lot of this stuff and we're working together. You know, I always got to go back to her so that we can work it out together. That's great. But if only Kyle knows it and no one else has seen it, I feel like she's going to have a hard time explaining it at the end.
Okay, I'm going to put on another hard hat. And I'm also going to put on... What other sort of protective material do I need from what you're probably about to do to me here?
Team Guyana.
She's got to vote Kyle out. Like that's the reality of the situation. She can't.
No, they are the Integrity Alliance, the real royalty.
The real Integrity Alliance are the people who lied along the way.
That's right.
That's how this works.
But
now,
not to each other.
Okay, she doesn't need to vote Kyle out right now. Like I will make that very, very clear. But if she's playing an under the radar game, a stealthy game, which she is doing at this point, I think it is going to be a lot harder for her to go to the final three with somebody who she played a pretty similar game to. So what I would do if I was her, I would get rid of him at final 5 because they have this stupid fire making thing at final 4, which I don't like, which I've never liked, but you can't leave it so that Kyle has a chance to win fire making and go to the final 3. You have to go there with an argument that is completely yours, and you have Kyle, who knows your full game, over on the jury advocating for you, and you just have to hope that he's not bitter about it. But I don't think Kyle is someone who would be bitter about it.
Oh, I hate to say that I agree, but it's true. And I want to see Team Guyana at the end together. And for me, I don't mind if either of them win. So, I mean, I just feel like Camilla's going to have a harder time sitting beside Kyle because he is the only person who knows her game. But speaking of gamers, let's talk about Shauhin at this point, because that back edit of the past like 4 days or 5 days with him planting all these seeds about David and then it's coming together, he's really such a gamer and he's been a real joy to watch this season. I'm so excited about the idea of him being in the final 3.
I really like him too. And I'll admit, I wasn't a huge Shauhin fan early on this season. And I think it was because I like Team Guyana. I'm not front row in the rooting section like you are, but I liked him. And I was so salty about him looking through the bag earlier this season. But his edit has been very positive. I think he's very entertaining, whether it is
so smart.
Like that whole planting the seeds for a really long period of time, whether it is him, him doing the challenge music. But no, I think what he said in that montage in this episode that I think is so true is that you have to do things over time so that when people think that they're making a decision, that they think they're the ones making it and that no other person has influenced them. And if he has done that, that's great. I think the other thing that's great for him right now is that he's had suspicion on him for weeks. Like he's been a target and yet nobody voted for him at this tribal council. So without having to do anything too crazy other than paranoia out there that, Camilla in part has caused that he might have an immunity idol, it just feels like he's kind of shifted the target off of him. And at this point, it still feels like there are a lot bigger targets that are in the game, especially, with like Joe and Eva, who are still there in an obvious duo.
Yes, and he's made some good decisions with that too. At first, when he woke up and saw that Eva was leaving camp and he woke up Joe, I was like, is this the right decision? Joe's going to have Eva's back no matter what. But I feel like it ended up working out, that he went to Joe about it, who is, duo with Eva. And Eva made, I think, the right decision. She didn't know, obviously, that Shauhin had seen, but I think she made the right decision coming back and telling the 4 of them together with herself that this is what she got. And I think she got a bit lucky that she brought Shauhin in on that. And of course, Joe, she
Yeah.
picked to tell, where Joe was then like, I knew she was going to tell me. Of course, she's going to tell me. Like, we're working together, sort of thing. And, my guy Shauhin came to me to tell me about it too, because we're all together. Like, I think it helps bring him in more.
I loved the entire sequence of Eva getting up, getting out to do this, and the way that they shot Shauhin just like standing there ominously in the
I
background.
know.
It felt like we were watching one of those ghost hunter shows, and like the way that they present ghosts that are just like, oh, here's this random blob of a figure that's in the background. This is the ghost of Shauhin, who has somehow super sensitive to wake up in the middle of the night. And I've always wondered this watching Survivor, because we've seen things like this before. And there's a lot of times people just completely get away with it. And I'm just always like, how does this happen? Because it's the middle of the night, you're probably cold, you're not sleeping on the best
Yep.
surface. I would sleep really, really badly in this environment. And if one person even just like shifted weird, I feel like I would get up. And I'm saying this as somebody who, I have a hard time falling asleep at night, but typically when I'm out, I'm out. I would not be that way on this island at all.
I am a terrible sleeper. I get up a million times a night. I have an old lady bladder, so I am up a million times a night. I would absolutely have woken up. I'll wake up at the smallest bit of noise. So, yeah, I would have seen that.
Okay, so Eva goes on her little journey here, and she basically has to play her own version of Survivor Roulette when it comes to, all right, what exactly is it that I want to do? She starts with this extra vote, and she's just like, okay, now I can play for this opportunity to upgrade this to a safety without power, which is just, I think we originally called it the peace out advantage
Peace out
from so many
advantage.
seasons ago, which is still my favorite word for it. But I kind of went back and forth. It's like, okay, what's really better to have? But I think at the end of the day, being able to just be safe another
Yeah.
time, like I'm not shocked that she's like, okay, I'm willing to go for this.
Absolutely. If you're just going to stick with your extra vote, you got to really hope
Yeah.
that your alliance is solid and people are going to keep you. And I know she has an immunity idol at
Yeah.
this point, but like I would have just gone for that as well. She has easily got so much power in the best position to win this game. Like, I don't know how she doesn't win with all these advantages unless she just, cacks it up at the fire and she just can't make fire.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like I think she's made some smart decisions when it comes to the powers that she has, the people that she's telling. I even think it was smart to be like, okay, I got the safety without power. I'm not going to risk this now to try to get an idol, because you already have an idol for starters. And then it's just like,
Yep.
also, how much better is it actually going to be to have that versus a safety without power, which already keeps you safe? It's not like it's that big of a difference to take a gamble. And, this safety without power seems like it's not going to be good for that much longer. So it's something she's probably going to have to play. But this is where, Eva, I'm going to tell you something very important here, as though you're going to be listening and you haven't played already.
Mhm.
You need to just play this when you have the opportunity. Don't do the thing where it's like, I don't need people to know that I have it and I'm not in danger. You never know. If you get blindsided because you don't play this and you don't play an idol, I will do the elusive double Picard in one of these videos. Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, don't go home with an idol and an advantage in your pocket. Like, just play them out. You know when they're going to be due, so you might as well just play them. Like, yeah, don't do that.
No.
Because at this point, you have so much power, anyways. At this point, I'd be playing them just because I feel like there's too many people that know
Yeah.
that I have a pile of advantages. They should be getting me out.
If these people don't target either Joe or Eva on this next episode, like, they're out of their minds. Like,
They're
they
just giving them the game.
Yeah, they will have. I don't know if Probst has mind controlled them because he likes these two so much and he doesn't want anybody else to win. But it's like, okay,
He tried to sabotage Camilla.
yeah, there was that. So it's certainly possible. But it's like, okay, you guys, Eva's got two advantages. Both of them are capable of winning a lot of immunity challenges. Like, Joe won this immunity challenge. They're both very likable. Eva's got a great story. Joe is the actual Mr. Integrity who doesn't
Yeah.
have to talk about it all the time. It's just like, I don't see either one of them being beaten by, I don't know if anybody in the rest of the game could beat either one of them. I mean, maybe Kyle or Camilla if they go up there and they really plan out a good speech, but it's still going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, they both have really great stories.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, I would feel more so that I wouldn't necessarily want to just vote for Eva because she does have so many advantages. But at the same time, I mean, she's protected herself really well
Yeah.
in her alliance. Yeah, she's got a lot of advantages. She's very likable. She's got a great story. She's going to be impossible to beat.
Yeah, like I think if she makes it to the end, she probably wins. Now, I will say this though. If she's at the end with Joe, right now I would vote for Joe. And it's not just because I'm team Joe and I've liked Joe all season, though that's a part of it, but it's really just the idea that there was this amazing scene in this episode with Joe and your guy Kyle
I
where
know.
Kyle's like,
He's so likable,
he
Joe.
they both are, and it's just like Kyle opening up to Joe. It's one another reminder that Joe is just so likable that people are telling him and confiding in him all this information,
Yep.
even though they know he has a clear number two in Eva. And
Yeah.
that to me is a sign of like, okay, you're an amazing player because people know you're a threat and they're still willing to come and share this information. And yeah, it was a great move for Kyle to build that trust with Joe, but it's also great that Joe has put himself in this position where Kyle is interested in going with him and sharing this information. And that kind of shows the strength of both of their games in an interesting way.
Joe is the camp daddy. Everybody likes him. Everybody wants to go to him and just spill all their secrets. And he'll be like, no problem. I got you. I give you a big hug.
Yeah.
I am the camp daddy.
I understand, Camp Daddy. Like, I would want to go and, like, have barbecue with you and, like, listen to some stories. I feel like we're going to have a good time. I don't know how much we have in common, but you know what? That's okay. You can be Camp Daddy even outside of Survivor, right? Joe's probably like, what's wrong with this guy? I'm not watching any of these videos ever again.
As long as Camp Daddy's not feeding me ham and cheese wraps, that's the reward. As soon as he was like, this is the reward, it's ham and cheese wraps. I was like, oh, cool. It's more stuff from craft services table. Why is it this bad?
They really have it out for you this season, too, with, like, the
I know, no,
celiac.
like, yeah, ham and cheese wraps. You have crackers. I'm just like, oh my goodness, cool. I get to have juice. It's the gluten reward.
I can have peach cobbler. Like, this is the thing.
I can have the strawberries with chocolate.
I would have everybody else can eat all the sandwiches. I'm just gonna eat all the peach cobbler. It is my second favorite type of cobbler behind only blackberry. But okay, there are a couple of other things that I think are interesting in this episode. Number one, Mitch has I think 20 lives this season. Where this is what is this? His fourth week of being a target because of his interesting story, and yet somehow he always tends to stay. And I don't mean this as a slight to Mitch, but I don't know how much credit I should give him because it feels like this vote in particular is more about what David did wrong necessarily than what Mitch did right. Just because we didn't see a lot of Mitch scrambling, and it might have happened more than what we saw, but it just feels like this was David sinking his own ship.
This was David sinking his own ship and Shauhin planting those seeds. That's how this, to me, played out. It was not really about Mitch.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, good for him for sticking around because it is sort of like, especially at this point, you have the likes of Mitch and Star and Mary who are all kind of sort of on the outs now. Like, are they going to be able to come together and do anything? But okay, it's now time for our weekly edition of Probe's Corner, where we get into either something that Jeff does that annoys us or something that Jeff does that just makes us question our sanity.
All right.
Jeff, why were you speaking in a British accent for like 10 seconds leading into a challenge? It's just like, hello, everybody. Well, okay, that's terrible. But it's like, Jeff, were you at improv class before this?
Maybe.
He didn't even do it for the rest of the introduction. He just did it for 20 seconds. It's the most bizarre thing. Okay, also, I'm staying on Pro's Corner here for a moment. Jeff, why are you becoming like a card game spokesman in the middle of it's one thing for you to do your audition little spiel, but now you're just hawking Survivor related products in the middle of the show. Like, coming out in the next episode, are you just going to show up wearing a bunch of like Survivor related merch? Are you going to come up with your own protein powder and be like, if you want to be like me and yelling in these challenges, buy my Jeff, we get it. You don't need your own interstitial to promote something every week.
Speaking of Survivor merch, did you guys see the merch that came out? That's like the Survivor Yellow Jackets crossover. It is the coolest. I never really buy merch, but I saw that and I was just like, click. I feel like I really need to have this merch. It was so cute.
See, I would have been very tempted to buy one of those if they had made like
I'm very tempted.
if it was they had made like an actual Survivor buff. Like I would want a
I
buff.
want that hoodie so bad.
The Yellow Jackets tribe. But I think this episode was a nice step forward over the past few because I think the criticism post merge has really been like, okay, it's been super predictable. This person, then this person, but it's like, okay, we have a really good blindside sitcom. Dave has been canceled. The show now he has to go and do his milk bit with people back at Ponderosa or whatever else. So
Yep.
a really good quality blindside. A lot could happen from here on out.
Yeah, he looked pretty bad as he was walking out. Like he just looked mad. He just kind
Yes.
of gave a meh bye. They're all like, "Love you, David. All the best." Meh.
Okay, one of the things that I wish that I could claim that I had like a PhD in this, but I love watching body language on television under two very specific circumstances. One, people getting voted out of Survivor, which this is a great one because he's just salty as heck and
So
he's just
salty.
not. Sometimes people are funny, they have memorable. The other thing I'm really obsessed with are how people act at the good nights on Saturday Night Live, where it's like you're supposed to sit around and hug each other, and then you have Morgan Wallen just walking off stage midway through them. And I always overanalyze this stuff. But yeah, I'm sure David will get over it in time, but I hope he realizes why he was actually voted out.
I hope so too.
But that's where we are coming out of Survivor 48 episode 9. So let us know, what did you guys think about this blind side? Who do you think is actually in the best position now? Let us know. Hit that subscribe button and support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We're covering exclusively there. In video form coming up, Criminal Minds Evolution in addition to Murderbot. Thank you so much. We will see you here next time.